Welcome into Daggerheart characters. This is a character that I remember being incredibly proud of after making, and somehow I just never recorded the video. And so here I am recording it after I have completely forgotten like what my strategy was planning wise to record it. I don't know. Is this a script I just wrote for myself while I was going to show you what's going on in the background? I really don't even know. So I'm just going to read through it and we'll play it by ear. But this is Syrio Forel of Braavos. If you need someone who can buy your ally some time, this is that character. I think that I was able to nail the essence of Syrio Forel. If you are not familiar with him, he's a character from Game of Thrones. He comes from a seaside town, Braavos, where he was once held in the highest regard as Protector of the Kingdom, that role being titled the First Sword of Braavos, Protector of the Kingdom. He also becomes a teacher/instructor for one of the main characters in the story of Game of Thrones. He's a side character, so his history is not delved into the most, but he has a massive impact on the story, and that's exactly what this character can have on your story. They're that ally that's going to help to get things done one way or the other. As a fighter, Syrio Forel has a very specific and unique style, which is known as the water dance. It's about having a focus and intent with every move. Clearly, given the name, it's not a direct or brutal style of fighting. It's about using your enemy's balance and their aggression against themselves. It's about remaining mobile, agile, fast, and outlasting your opponent. You get the general idea there, right? In the end, Syrio gives up his life to protect his student by taking on a group of armed men with a stick and no armor. A possible experience you could use for this character would be what he says in his final moments in the show. The First Sword of Braavos does not run. He's a poet with his words, inspirational and wise. He is fearless and flamboyant. Now that you know the flavor that I'm going for, let's look at just how nicely we can create this character, and I have some important details, so why don't we just look at that before we get into it. I don't know, maybe this is the part that I was just supposed to keep to myself. He is seaborn because he's from Braavos, right? So that makes sense. I think that also has some nice, good synergy, I think, with everything, actually. The seaborn's pretty cool ancestry. And then he is a Simia. So, or is that ancestry? Simia is the ancestry, right? So that is the monkey that is going to make him more nimble, literally turn the evasion up, the monkey race or whatever. One with the Guardian class, Vengeance subclass. Important note here, some of the names of the features and the domain cards, they do not fit Syrio Forel. Specifically the names, especially with Vengeance and the subclass of the Vengeance and all those cards for the Guardian domain, but the mechanics can easily fit exactly who he is. The name of the card, the name of the feature, does not technically matter at all. It truly doesn't, and you can reflavor things so much in this game. And this is one of those characters where if you just take away the bias that you're getting from the name of the features and you think about what it is, it very much fits Syrio Forel. At 5th level, I multiclassed into the Bard class. He is a wordsmith, right? So I got the wordsmith subclass there. I ignored strength from the beginning, built his traits more like a bard might look. Interesting. Like I said, some of this is like, it feels like the first time that I'm seeing this character. I invested in evasion and stress as much as possible, and I improved proficiency. It does have synergy with an important domain card. I think I know which domain card that is. So let's get this off of the screen now. And here is Syrio Forel of Braavos. 14 evasion, 5 armor. Did I deck this guy out in equipment or not? Let's see, improved legendary, yes. Advanced Gambison armor, so I didn't give him like the best armor there. All right, so he has some solid evasion, not the best. Solid armor, well, okay armor, not the best. Damage thresholds, solid, not the best. All of it being okay here. Minor damage 19, severe damage of 38. And you look at the abilities here. I did not bring those up all the way. presence at the highest, agility at third. We are going to be using presence, okay, with our weapons, the legendary rapier and the improved whip. The improved whip will give us some ability to a little bit of crowd control, and a legendary rapier allows us to hit multiple times. That is, as I remember now, a fair bit of this. 10 hit points slot, so that's good, and 12 stress to work out with, so we shouldn't be running out of that too quickly, hopefully. The experiences that I chose, another quote from him right here, death. What do we say to death today? What do we say to... how's the quote? What do we say to death? Not today. I think it's just that, right? What do we say to death? Not today is one of the bigger quotes that came from Game of Thrones. That is from this character. If I got that wrong, my apologies, but I don't think so. And then he is a bodyguard, he is an instructor, are the experiences, and then I always figure 4th and 5th experience should be things that are happening in-game, not something that's from your childhood or anything. Those are what these early experiences are for. So, our loadout that I have for him, looks like I made a loadout... because Unbreakable is what? Yeah, 10th level. So this is, I guess, what I figure is probably my most common loadout here. Start a day off with at least. When you mark your last hit point, instead of making a death move, you can roll a d6 and clear a number of hit points equal to the result. Then place this card in your vault. So a little survivability light there. Get back up when you take severe damage. You can mark a stress to reduce the severity by 1 threshold. Makes enough sense given, or lack of ultra impressive survivability stats. Shrug it off. When you would take damage, you can mark a stress to reduce the severity of the damage by 1 threshold. When you do, roll a d6, and a result of 3, this goes back into your vaults. So more of that. We got our Whirlwind feature. When you make a successful attack against a target within very close range, you can spend a hope to use the attack against all targets within very close range. I think there is some sort of synergy with this that I maybe have forgotten about. But this very much fits, like, especially his final scene in the show, and I assume maybe his final moments in the book when he's taking on, like, 5 adversaries. I mean, this is that flavor, and you can just knock them all together, knock their heads together and stuff. Movie scene type of fighting here with Whirlwind. And then we have a Rise Up trait, gain a bonus to your severe damage threshold equal to your proficiency, and when you mark 1 or more hit points from an attack, clear a stress. So that makes some sense here with this 1938 up there, that being a little bit beefier, I suppose. The other cards that we have in our vault, a little more crowd control with forceful push, a little extra damage as well option there. Soldier's Bond, of course, just makes sense for Syrio Forel and his bardic ways. Same with Goad Them On is something that he definitely does in his final moments in the scene in order to allow one of the main characters, who is a young child at that point in time, to live. He goads more people than were needed to kill him, ultimately, should have been at least. He's able to get all of their attention so that way she can get away. So that very much fits. Inspirational words, once again, obviously going to fit this type of theme here for this guy. Same with, I assume, troublemaker. You can be the nicest person in the world, but if you are a wordsmith, you also know how to hurt people very close to their core or to stress people out, and that's what the troublemaker does. And then we got our frenzy. Take the frenzy out of this. So once per long rest, you can hyper concentrate on your enemies, and while you're doing that, you can't use your armor slots, but you gain a plus 10 bonus to your damage rolls and a plus 8 bonus to your severe damage threshold. So that's another thing that's going to help to increase that severe damage threshold, just mitigating damage. That was part of the reason of this one. It's just like, and a lot of these things are like they're mitigating damage. If you remember some of the cards that we just went through here, Shrug It Off, Get Back Up, Rise Up, is you're never taking the full brunt of an attack, is this whole, style of fighting that I described in the beginning of this video. And then Hold the Line, which is very much within the flavor of who Syrio Forel would be, especially, once again, in those last moments when he holds the line so that a character can get away. So the flavor and all, I think, perfectly captured here, and I think a really, really fun and good character. I think this character is good to work with. I did not go through all the features that you get. The Guardian feature here, clear 2 armor slots. So yeah, we don't have a whole lot of armor slots, but we can't clear them to get them back. Once again, mitigation of damage that's coming in. To me, this character probably doesn't actually wear any armor. You know, just the armor is their natural fighting style, essentially. But then we get this unstoppable dice, which is another way to reduce damage that's coming in at us, and it also helps to increase our damage going out. I think that's very much in flavor of this using your opponents against themselves and not being able to be held down very easily. Very much in flavor here. It's not, you know, it doesn't, unstoppable isn't the perfect description, but these effects are very much in play with this water dancer style of fighting. We have our bardic die, so we can be inspiring to others and to ourselves to help clear some stress and whatnot along the way. We gained an additional stress slot from the Vengeance subclass, and when an adversary within melee range succeeds on an attack roll, you can mark 2 stress to force the attacker to mark a hit point. So this is another one of those things where using them against themselves. You hit me, well, I also got you at the same time. Your own demise, or my demise, is also your demise. You miss, what is it, miss small, aim small, miss small types of features here within this. It's not a revengeful thing, it's just the fighting style. You're never going to get a fully clean hit without taking some sort of stress or damage yourself against this fighting style. We, of course, get our rousing speech and the Heart of the Poet. After you make an action roll to impress, persuade, or offend someone, you can spend a hope to add a d4 to the roll. Just making ourselves more reliable there. We are a natural climber. Very hard to get our hands on again, right? And nimble. And the Know the Tide feature also gives us a little bit more reliability. And that's another thing that you'll see with a lot of these is there's several of these traits is that we get more reliable. We don't miss too often with things. That's a part of the build. So I think it's a really, really good build. As with a lot of the builds, you know, it's up there for ones that I would love to test out and play. And I feel like just like flavor-wise, you know, if you needed a character like this in a campaign that you joined, based on, you know, what other people chose already, I think this is a great build. I will try to remember, if I didn't already, in the description, there should be a way to find this exact build. All the decisions that I made to get you to this point at level 10. But you also have a pretty good idea if you go through this video, but of course that's, you know, a little bit harder than just having a Word document that you can look at, download, whatever, and go off of, for the most part at least, to give you a guideline of how to make Syrio Forel of Braavos. Not a main character, but a fantastic character. Thank you very much, guys. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.